Welcome back, everyone, to the How to Job podcast. In this episode, we're going to dive deep into the change in Nike's leadership and what it means for someone who's looking for a job in a company where there's been a recent leadership change and how someone can use that as an opportunity for themselves to talk to their decision makers and be able to sell their brand to the company that they want to be able to work for. So, tune in.
So, Nike has a new CEO, which you actually know more about than I do.
Change in Nike leadership. I have vested interest in this. Growing up, huge Nike fan, huge Michael Jordan fan. And I remember pestering my dad every single day. I was like, I need these new shoes. I need this t-shirt. So very interesting. And I think a lot to learn from this new leadership that is coming in. And the leadership that is leaving right now and what the reason for that is. And I think in both cases, we can learn a lot from, what someone could have done and how does being the right person in the wrong place does not work for everyone. So let's start with the current CEO stepping down. His name is John Donahoe. Great guy. I mean, he went to Stanford, did his MBA from Stanford, and then he worked in Boston, in a consultancy firm in Boston. And he went from being an associate to being the CEO of the company in 20 years.
Wow.
Exactly.
You see about that. I mean, not a lot, but like it's quite rare. But when you do see like people started from like an entry level.
Started from the top.
Started from bottom here. And then they get to that top. That's insane. So this guy who actually left is
so he started at a consultancy firm called Baines and Company.
Okay.
He started as an associate in Boston, and he was the CEO. And I think he resigned in 1999. And then he was brought in at eBay to expand their marketplace section. And by 2008, he was the CEO of eBay. And under his tenure, they had more than 40 acquisitions in eBay. This guy is no joke. This guy is the real deal.
But when you say accusations, what do you mean by that?
So he bought 40 different companies under eBay.
Oh, acquisitions. Yeah. I thought you said accusations.
Oh, sorry. Okay. My English, guys.
What did the guy do?
What are you accused of? No. Yeah,
acquisitions. Okay,
acquisitions.
Interesting.
And then in 2015, he not 2015 or 2017, I think he went on to become the CEO of ServiceNow, a cloud-based platform, which he got to know about whilst he was working for eBay. And this guy has a massive background, and it's no joke having those titles, like being a C-level executive at 3 different companies, 3 multi-billion-dollar companies. I mean, that says a lot. And when Nike brought him in, I think that is so. Do you find the problem somewhere? Nike, a sports brand, hiring someone from a tech background who runs consultancy and is like basically the Silicon Valley guy. What is he doing running a sports brand?
That would be my first thought. Yeah,
exactly. That's where Nike screwed up.
So this guy's on the way out.
So he's on the way out.
Okay. Yeah. But the guy that they're bringing in, he used to work at Nike. Is that right?
Elliot Hill.
32
years tenure at Nike.
Interesting.
Currently retired, being brought back from retirement to run the company for 2-3 years as the president and CEO.
Because they're in trouble.
Because they're in massive trouble.
They haven't been doing great at all.
Nike has had a very tumultuous past couple of years, especially this year, and especially Q3 it's all in red, and Q3 was all down. And why does that raise eyebrows is because this Q3 we had the Olympics. Most any country has won, as always, was America. And mostly all American athletes are sponsored by Nike. And even after the Olympics, even after winning the most medals, Nike had a bad quarter as compared to its competitors. So whilst John Donahoe was the CEO between 2020 and September 2024, they lost a lot of market share to new companies like On Running, Hoka, and now even Adidas, because they brought in a tech guy to run a sports luxury or almost, yeah, I can say sports luxury brand, and they completely decimated the market. And to give an example, I have something to show you guys. In support of the new Nike CEO, I'm wearing my.
They look awesome, by the way. I love those.
Thank you so much.
I can't say I'm sporting Nikes today, but they look great.
So as I said, I'm a huge Nike guy growing up, and I love Jordans, I love Dunks, but in the last 4 years, it almost become impossible to buy a nice pair of Nike shoes, or whenever they come out with a limited edition collaboration, you can't. If you're a normal person, you can't buy them, and they've taken the supply and demand chain and completely disrupted it to a point where they've pissed off loyal Nike customers, and they're like, okay, if I am ready to buy a high priced product from Nike, but they aren't willing to give it to me just because of what? Because my name doesn't come on an app when they're select the lottery, or if I go to the store, I can't. They've pissed off their most loyal customer base, and they've started venturing out. Come in companies like On Running, which was founded by an actual athlete. And I think he was a marathon runner himself, and he made these shoes with special technology. They have a story behind them. And if you go out in London, 8 out of 10 people are wearing On Running shoes.
I've noticed that.
Yep.
And I've seen the stores pop up, and I'm thinking, wait, hang on, because I don't think about this stuff a lot.
Yep.
And then I notice, oh, where have Nikes gone? Or Nikes, depending on where you're from. But where have Nikes gone? And then you see New Balance, you see On Running, you see, like you said, Adidas coming back. And then what's happened to the company? But also the leadership change gives a lot of opportunity for people who want to get a job, not just at Nike, but at companies that might be lacking that
strong
focus.
leadership. Yep. Or there's a current leadership change going on. I think a lot can be learned from, massive layoffs, like 15% layoffs from Nike Portland, Oregon headquarters, and the CEO not cutting off his bonuses or salaries, and that being intact, and him being one of the highest paid CEOs in America, irrespective of how Nike as a company is doing. I think that says a lot. And what brings back us to the entire job market is how you can be. He's the right person. I mean, who would not want to learn more and more, and who would know more about building companies and driving value from them other than this guy? But I think he did not align with Nike's own values. Was for the customers, provide our products to the customers. And funny enough, Elliot Hill, who's gonna come back as CEO, is currently retired, and he retired almost at the same time when John Danaher came in as the CEO. So that, I don't know if it's public information or not, that in my head, that's like, oh, I think he was supposed to go for that position. He went for that position back in 2020. He did not get that. He spent 32 years at the company, and he's like, you know what? I think that was the position I was aiming for. I did not get it. I think I've achieved everything that I could in my tenure at this company. And I think it's time for me to hand in my call and just, relax. But now, guess what? He's back.
Yeah.
And he's going to have his time. And I'm very happy because he started as an intern at Nike. And he worked his way up from sales to vice president EMEA, head of sales, then vice president North American sales, then vice president global sales, president global sales. I mean, talk about climbing this guy's ladder. I mean, it's like, if you guys have not already, I would highly recommend, there's that image of his LinkedIn going viral of 32 years at Nike and different job titles, an average of 2 years at each position, and he knows the company in and out. And what we can translate this back to is two things: being curious and pushing yourself in the job you are, and having the soft skills to communicate with people internally and then moving up. Because if he didn't have those two things, he would not be here where he is right now.
I agree. So strong leadership, lack of, has brought him back, which makes sense.
Yep.
But then the segue, I think, for viewers would be, what is Nike now looking for? Now that they've understood that and they're trying to fix it, hey, we used to be great, and they're still great. I like Nike a lot, and I think a lot of people do. But like you said, they lost a lot of market share. We need to bring back strong leadership. Now, when we're hiring people, are we looking for the same strong? Is leadership as a soft skill quality going to be more sought after? Is communication, is creativity going to be there? Because a tech guy running a sportswear type of brand, you would imagine creativity probably is not on the first part of the list. It's more automation and operations and all this other stuff.
Exactly.
So does that change how people should network? Because I'm thinking, and how people should actually position their CVs for companies like Nike. Because I think a lot of other companies who are looking at what mistakes they made, they're going to start thinking, okay, well, let's not make the same mistakes. Let's try get people who are leaders. Let's try and get people who actually believe in the brand, like On Running being founded by an athlete. That person believes in their brand, and they're probably going to learn from Nike's mistakes.
That's a $7 billion company now. Yeah, it's massive. The being authentic, especially in this way, in this day and age, and that's what interesting because Adidas just got back in because Nike was selling a £150 shoe and also making sure not everyone gets it, whereas Adidas comes out with a £90 shoe, make sure everyone gets it, and make sure they have different colorways so that people can switch them. You can buy two Adidas shoes versus one Nike shoe that you may or may not get. Where would you go?
That's a good point. That's a good point. How would you start looking at Nike as a job seeker? What would you start doing?
In this current leadership, I think with the current leadership, the priority for them would be relationship building, creativity, and which would lead to innovation. Because what the past leadership where they failed was at these two things. Foot Locker was one of their major partners. He destroyed that relationship. And they lost major revenue because Foot Locker stopped being exclusive Nike stores. They stopped pushing Nike merch as compared to what they were doing before. Sales came down. And then I think he worked too much on Nike marketplace, which was how a consumer buys the product. But if the product's not good enough, or if the consumer is not able to buy that product, why would they go out of their way to actually, work on, buy that product? It's not about it is about the experience of you buying something, but it's also about you buying that thing. They have not made anything innovative in the last 4 years, or anything innovative that was, easily accessible to the consumers. You're not going to make a $500 shoe and expect everyone to buy it.
Yeah, that's very true. But also now when they're hiring people, they're going to be thinking about, we need to find people who can think of Nike growing in new ways.
Exactly.
Let's reclaim that market share.
Yep.
Let's get ambitious people.
Let's get back to those Jordan days in the late 90s where everywhere you go, everyone's wearing a Nike shoe. And I think the key point for them to be able to get to that would be, understanding what their competitors are doing, being creative, have an open mind, and not be afraid to speak it. And if you can, if you're going for a position in Nike or a company that used to be at the top but are not doing the same, that is what they're looking for. If you can present ideas, present your creativity, and point out the problem that I'm pretty sure the company knows, and if you point out that problem and how you will be a part of the solution, I think that's a win.
Yeah, solution selling is what comes to mind for me.
Yep.
So whether it's a hiring manager, whether it's a decision maker like head of marketing, if you're looking for a marketing position at Nike, you've got the world at your feet because you can kind of show what's happened before as, hey, let's not go back there again. This is what I bring to the table. So solution selling, which is understanding what the challenge has been, what it could be if it's not fixed, and then using those metrics to kind of sell yourself better.
Yep.
So for everybody now listening, hey, I'm applying to companies like Nike because it's not just about Nike. This podcast isn't to show you just specifically about Nike. It's to show you there are other companies who are worried to end up like where Nike has been, even though I think that they're actually going to come back. I think they're going to make a really good comeback. It's a really good story as well because the guy who used to work there, who actually believes in the brand, he's back and he's going to fix things.
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, me too. And I think I need to buy the pair that you have. That's a story for another day. But as a job seeker right now, you need to sell that you love the brand. And you need to sell even this as a case study whatever company it is. So if you're looking for Apple, I don't think Apple's going to have this problem, by the way. Well, maybe if Meta, who knows, if
Never
Orion,
know with the AI, man.
yeah. So
Yeah.
if Orion kind of takes phones out, but if you're selling the brand, that you care about the brand, that you're solution orientated, your networking game for job search goes through the roof. These are the challenges I see. This is the solution and value that I bring, and you use it as a case study. That could be a really interesting way. If you wanted to get into Nike, and obviously you don't want to because you're in a great position, but if you wanted to get into a company like Nike, what would be the first thing that you do?
Building partnerships again. I think that is the key for me. Nike does a great job in advertising, and they still do, even with the leadership that's going. But I think that's where they lacked in the last 4 years, building partnerships and making things for the consumer. That would be my top 2 priority as whatever position at Nike that if they want to hire me at. And start building those relationships. For example, the Foot Locker relationship that they lost massive sales just because of that. And then on the back of that, I would work on getting more relationships like that. Nike is a top company. I mean, us too. I'm not here trying to tell how to run $1 billion company. I'm not.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm not.
One day.
Phil Knight. Yeah, one day. But I think what we need to understand is we can, in the last 4 years, we can point out where they went wrong. Mm-hmm. And where they went wrong was they hired the wrong person for a sports brand instead of going internally, who knows the Nike values. How can you not go for someone who's been there for 32 years and has built this entire relationships globally and knows how their product is being sold in each part of the world and how the entire process works. Mm-hmm. So for me, it would be, understanding partnerships, bringing back those partnerships that we have lost over the few years, and I'm being innovative, bringing in more creative people and being more creative myself and try to collaborate with people to bring new ideas to the table and make consumers happy again about and excited about a Nike product. I remember like when I got these shoes, which I overpaid way much for. I didn't buy them from Nike. I bought them from a reseller, paid double.
Right.
Yeah. They came for £120. I paid like £240 for them.
Really?
Stupidest thing to do.
Hey, if you like the shoes, you like the shoes. I've done stupider things.
I mean, whenever I go out, I do get compliments wearing these shoes. So I'm like, that's money well spent. But this shoe is an example of what they started doing wrong. They started creating good partnerships. Perfect, I get that. But if you're gonna give it to only a few people, it's almost like a job hunting lottery. It's like I wish I get one, and you get one. So I think it has to be available to the people. I know exclusivity, but exclusivity doesn't mean you bring out 200 pairs of shoes that are just exclusive every single year, and people are not going to get that. So I think building back those partnerships, collaboration, and being creative, and not be afraid to speak what you think.
Yeah, and I think if you're an everyday job seeker, no matter what position there is, so let's try and figure out a way that, let's say someone in the audience wants to join Nike, but they want to do customer service.
Yep.
Or let's say a stakeholder communication position. Or let's say something even in operations, to generalize it a little bit. You want to sell leadership, you want to sell that you love the brand, and that you're a creative person. Those 3 things, imagine getting like an informational interview with a hiring manager or a decision maker at Nike. No matter what job you're going for, you want to be able to sell the characteristics of that CEO to say, hey, listen, like I've read up on the CEO. I think it's great that he's back. We're going to start taking back market share. And I embody the creativity that I think the new CEO has. Or I really consider myself a leader. Or I would like to gain more exposure as a leader. And I think Nike is a place that I feel needs to foster that more. So that's a pitch. So these little small nuanced techniques I think could be used, and pieces of news like Nike, not just for Nike, but it could be for any other sports brand. So I think any other job seeker that's kind of looking at other sports brand, they can use Nike as a case study to say, hey, brand is so important to me. Culture is so important to me. These are the skills that I feel that I have that allows that culture to grow. And that's a really interesting thing, I think, to think about it that way. Because it shouldn't be just apply and wait.
Yeah, no.
I know that's the main theme of our podcast is like, don't apply and wait. I mean, you can apply, but just don't apply and wait. Do more. You try to find out why companies grow, why they look for certain people, why they change specific things about how they hire, and then things change in your job search.
I think it's you've hit the nail on that. And also, when even in any job search, I think what a hiring manager or the person who's interviewing is looking is who are you as a person and how do you match with our company values. Every company has a set of values that they keep themselves, they hold themselves to. And Nike, with this new new CEO coming, has plastered it all out. We value loyalty. Finally, I'm glad they're doing that. We value loyalty, and we're bringing back an experienced person, and who for someone whom the brand means something to him. And if you can explain in any interview what does the company mean to you personally, I think you can't go wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if it's Nike, if it's LSEG, if it's JP Morgan, if it's Deutsche Bank, you could have been taken to Deutsche Bank as your dad must have taken you as a child, and you must have had the best experience. Like, you know what? I'm going to work at Deutsche Bank.
Or you want to work at Ferrari because you saw a Ferrari when you were 6.
Exactly. Way better
the
example.
story that actually matters.
It's
and
the
the brand
story
itself.
and what the brand means to you as a person and what motivates you. And the only way to get that is by, it's definitely not by, just applying via LinkedIn or via their careers page, because these things, when you're screened by systems, you don't even get to the actual person who's going to be interviewing you or who's actually looking at your CV. But if you reach out to someone who's already working there and give them a hook, it's like, and then get them on a call, or maybe get them an email, and you're able to send them something, or they've given you their email and they've asked you for your CV. You send them your CV with like a line or something, or like a short paragraph of what this means to you. You will definitely get that informational interview or e-coffee chat where you can go more deep into what the brand means to you, what the company means to you, and what sort of skills that you have is going to help expand the company even more, and what values you believe that match with the company.
Yeah. And brand is super important. I think people don't even think about it enough. When they apply for jobs, they see job title. Ooh, company looks good. Salary. That's kind of it, really, when
Perks,
I speak to people.
Maybe free gym. I look for free gym.
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. You get free gym and
Yeah.
ping pong tables and free beer in some places.
Yeah.
Or was that WeWork? But
That's WeWork, yeah.
yeah. But when I speak to job seekers, so every single day, I will speak to maybe 20 people minimum, maybe 30, 40, depending on the day. And I ask them the question, okay, so do you have a company you want to work for?
Yep.
And most of the time, the answer is, no, I'm open-minded. I don't really care. We spoke about this on episode 2, I think, and I
think we can speak about this on every episode.
For years. Yeah. And I think it's super important to know and keep thinking about, because if you're open for anything, you will fall for anything. And I'm kind of taking over your little haikus and your statements. But you have to know what you're looking for,
yep.
And you have to know what the company stands for. And even if you don't get into that company, so if you're looking for Nike and you will really want to work there, but you end up at Adidas, or you end up in this other company, or if you want to work in finance or tech and you end up working for a competitor of the company you want to work for, you knowing the brand and you understanding it will help you in informational interviews. And informational interviews are so powerful to have. This is how you got into LSEG, if I remember correctly.
Exactly.
You spoke to someone who referred you because you fit the company culture. You understood the brand. And the takeaway right now for job seekers, for any company, understand what's going on in that company to understand the brand. So with Nike right now, if I was walking into Nike, hey, I've got leadership potential. I've got leadership as a soft skill. I'm a communicator, creative as well. Collaborator, teamwork. These are skills that I feel that your new CEO right now is trying to instill in the new workforce. Could you give me 5 minutes of your time to see if my profile would be the right fit? Imagine sending that as a LinkedIn message, not just a random email. A lot of you right now are sending random emails. Hi, name. Hope you're well. Here's my CV. You know what I'm going to say, right? Any jobs? Stop, please, for the love of God. It will not help. But if you find a brand of a company and then you say, hey, okay, look, I understand you've got a new CEO. Leadership and creativity seem to be of a lackluster at the moment. I feel that my profile could be a potential fit. Do you have 5 minutes? Sending that to like 15 decision makers a day for a week will be so much better than just applying.
I think LinkedIn is such today's tool. It's just a massive in for every job seeker, but just not having the knowledge of using it the right way is hurting people's chances to be able to get into the dream companies and get that dream role, because people waste, because you can only get connected to someone once you have sent that connection request. You can't you know remove that as a connection and add that. That's done. Like, I mean, you can do it, but you have to have a strategy of, okay, if I'm sending this connection request, am I sending it just for the sake of it? Does that mean something to me? If I send that with one liner, what would that be? What do I want out of, if someone is opening their LinkedIn, they see a connection request from me with the message, what do I want them to think? What do I want them to do? If you really want them to see and respond to you, what would you say into it? And what is, one thing you would tell about yourself in that one message, so that the job seeker is like, oh, okay, this person seems very interesting. Let me actually see what they have to say, and let me give them 10 minutes of my time and see if there's something interesting and if we can bring them in.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't know that you've got 20 ad notes on LinkedIn per day, Monday to Friday.
Per day? I did not know that as well.
Yeah. I remember when we started speaking, you were using in-mail messages.
I was.
And you're limited to just 5 in a month. So that's going to go pretty quick. And people hate in-mail messages. Like, if you're a decision maker, you get an in-mail message, you get 500 of those. But a lot of people don't know about ad notes, funnily enough. I thought it was like a normal thing. But when I teach people to get into their dream jobs, you have an ad note. Oh, what's that? You have 300 characters as a limit message to send to decision makers. And if you can pinpoint which decision makers, and you have 300 characters to impress them. So those 300 characters should not be, hey, I'm looking for a job, or any jobs, or any basic message. It needs to be filled in with the brand. So if we're using Nike as an example here, hey, leadership seems to be as the main point of your hiring process, would love to chat. Imagine sending that to 15 decision makers at Nike right now. I would imagine 50% of them minimum would accept. Half of those will probably respond, and then you'll get 2 meetings if you actually game it the right way. And that's what people need to be doing more of. This needs to be a real case study for not just Nike, but every other company.
I think everyone also needs to understand them as a person. Everyone carries a brand themselves. Milo has a brand. I have a brand. We have a brand, How to Jobs. But we have our own brand that we carry every single day. And people hire what they see of value. So if your brand has a value to the company, to the decision maker, they would bring you in. They would entertain you. They will refer you for roles. But if your brand is not the right match for somewhere, why would they give you any time of the day? And understanding, I think that's why we've spoken about this before, and I think I'm going to re-emphasize it to even each student we speak, is know your brand, know yourself, know where you really want to go.
Yeah.
And then have a nice think of, okay, so these, let's say 10 companies they are spot on with my brand. I love the way they've been working, and their leadership has been working, and I think I could actually come in, add value to them, and understand what they're trying to achieve, and be a solution to their problem, be a solution seller.
Solution selling,
Yeah.
100%. And brand selling, soft skill understanding, which a little bit of a segue, Job Search Power Pack,
Yep.
link in the description. A little bit of a shameless plug. Sorry, have to do it. I think
we're our own sponsors, guys. What do you expect?
We are, absolutely.
We got to pay for shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But having the Job Search Power Pack will tell you what soft skills you have from your CV, and from, we give you 100 questions. Those 100 questions, you will then go through them. Sorry, guys, it does take 10 minutes to go through those 100 questions. But once you go through them, we know what soft skills you have. We know what culture you're looking for in a company. We can then tell you which companies to look at. And that's just going to help you sell the brand, not just for Nike. You might actually, funnily enough, get Nike on your list, which would be amazing. Or you might get tech companies, or you might get finance companies. But knowing how to be the solution-orientated person when you send those ad notes. So imagine reaching out to 20 people today with the right template to get a meeting. and that meeting giving you access to a formal interview, which you're a product of.
I think it's a perfect product for anyone who is, confused, don't know, where they want to go. They've done maybe some sort of degree, but that's not really what they wanted to do. They were maybe forced by their friends, peer pressure, or parents to do that, but they really want to do something. It takes, you'll have a 15-page research document on yourself within 24 hours. You can go through it. It gives you, points out what are your skills that you actually have right now, which you can use in order to reach out to people in companies that you really want to work for, and what sort of what are the target people you should be reaching out to, and then custom messages to each people. And then it also gives you, okay, throughout your career, what are the companies you could be working for, what is the skill gap that you currently have, if there are some companies that you really want to work for at, but okay, what sort of skill gap you have, and how you can fill in those gaps, and even after having those gaps, how you can use your soft skills and measurable metrics in order to pitch yourself to those people, connect with them, and get referred to the role that you really want to work for.
Yeah, 100%. Because informational interviews, a little nice segue now for informational interviews. A lot of people don't even know about those. I know we spoke about them a little bit in episode 1.
I think the thing about informational interviews is it's a regular thing in banking and in finance, but not so much outside that.
Which is a great opportunity.
Yep.
Because you can reach out to someone in another company. So whoever, if you're in the audience now and you're thinking, these guys are talking about Nike and they're talking about Deutsche Bank. Like, I want to work in an architecture firm in Sweden. Cool. This applies to you as well. You can reach out to people who are doing the job you want to do. You can get 5 minutes of their time. You can then ask them questions, and judging by the quality of questions, so don't say, hey, what's the day-to-day like? You want to say, would love to know what soft skills you're looking out for. Would love to know a little bit more about the culture. What has the CEOs or chairmans or whoever runs the business policy, how has that affected, let's say, international job seekers applying for these jobs? So you can always variate it to you and customize it. But if you ask those questions and you get those meetings with decision makers, you're one step away.
And I'm so glad you brought up international job seekers, because I think for me, they're the most important, because I was one. And I think this information and using these window opportunities is very important, because at the end of the day, every employer is looking for their next solution, their next, what sort of gap they have and who can take this on. If as a job seeker, you can present that you are basically a solution to all of their problems, whether you're international, local, or whether you need sponsorship, it just becomes less priority. But if you have half the skills, if you're not so much collaborative, if you are unable to pitch yourself in the light right whilst you're speaking to them, that's when they start thinking of all these other things, because they're like, I don't know if they're just a bit unsure about you. They're like, I don't know if this guy is worth giving that shot. But if you drill down, take every box, go for it, and present yourself as if you're presenting yourself to Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, wherever you are, and you're like pitching your startup. It's like, okay, I have done this. I've studied from this. This is my product. I've sold this much, and I can do this, and this is how my values and this is how my work ethic fits in with the company. I think they don't worry about the sponsorship, and it becomes even if it isn't, they will go out of their way to be able to offer you something.
100%. And by the way, guys, if you're listening to this and you want us to talk about something, for example, international job seeking in finance or international job seeking in a different country, we will do a specific episode just on that, which I think would be really interesting just to get your thoughts. So please do comment below and let us know what you want us to talk about.
Comment below, connect with Milo on LinkedIn, connect with me on LinkedIn, drop us, a link. Milo has been posting a lot lately, so in one of his comments, we go through it. let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you're eager to know, what sort of industries you guys want to work on. Because I understand, because there's so many international students studying different things. Somebody is studying architecture, somebody's studying aeroscience. Funny enough, I was on a call with a student who was studying aeroscience, and he said like he is having problems looking for a job because I think there's some special security clearance that someone needs, and I was like, okay, that's a curveball. What would you say in that sort of situation?
There's some things you just can't really go over. I mean, you've got, if a company requires you to have security clearance, you need to be in this country for 5 years.
Yes.
There's no way around it. It's just you're not there. But if that's what you want and that's what you want to set your sights to, you've got 5 years now to make sure you get that
I think
position.
my solution for that for him was, instead of going into research and development, which is majority of the aerospace engineers are, maybe go in testing, and because that is some place, because it's not a new product that's being made. It's already made products and already approved patents, and it's only in testing. That is the way to go. And I think he applied that, and he's starting to get in a few interviews with the decision makers for testing roles.
So any aerospace engineers, you know who to reach out to.
That was just a fluke, because
I think it's good advice.
yeah, I think I love
Yeah.
SpaceX.
Yeah.
But like I was like, how do I, like, because I really wanted to help him as well, and he's like, but a security clearance, that is something that no matter what we do, we can't talk our way out of it. And it's like Milo has taught me so much about talking your way around stuff and getting what you want, but that is something that is a non-negotiable. But for a non-negotiable, I think the key is to understand, see the bigger picture, still have that insight, and try to pivot your way around it.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, with being a testing engineer, you will still stay within the same industry. You can't wait till your security clearance is done. You can rise the ranks, learn stuff, and still, once you've done that, you can go into research and then go after the job that you want.
Yeah, that's a good point. And just to obviously wrap up this episode with the points of Nike and what users and viewers can actually take away from this is understand the brand of the company, understand the leaders, what they're looking for now. Understand, spatial awareness in a way, because it's like, okay, I'm going into a business that's either thriving or it's not. It used to be or it hasn't. Now I understand what I need to say to look for and what I need to look for to know what to say in a way. And then segueing that into informational interviews. The more meetings you have with decision makers in companies you want to work for, the better your job search will be. And the more you know about these companies, the more prepared you'll seem as well. And don't get me wrong, you're going for interviews, you will be nervous. There's no way around that. Nerves are good.
I'm nervous right now. We're shooting our 4th podcast.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. We thought it would get easier, but just shooting podcasts is nerve-wracking. We want to bring you as much value as we possibly can, which we sincerely hope we're doing. And again, please put the comments in the description as well for that. Is there anything you want to wrap up with?
I think if I can give a small spiel on this Nike change, is like you need to be at the right person at the right place. Like John Danaher is certainly not a wrong guy, but he was not the guy to run Nike that we have seen over the last 4 years. All their red quarters, especially Q3, it being an Olympic quarter and Nike doing so bad. So make sure that your skills are being used in the right place, in the right way. And then also, if you're a job seeker, understand what sort of leadership change a company is going through, that if you want to work for them, and how you can use that to your advantage. Having this knowledge, and once you're speaking to decision makers who are able to showcase that, oh, you already know so much about that company, the leadership change, and how much you align with their story and how much your brand aligns with their brand is going to be a game changer for everyone who is looking to get into their dream role.
100%.
Yeah.
Understood. Guys, you heard it here first. Sell the brand, sell the story, and your job search will be that much easier.